Hi, welcome back to the Southern Witch. I'm Andrea, the Southern Witch. I was going to do a video today about divination and different kinds of divination, but that is kind of going to be put on hold for a couple of days. I posted on my Instagram a picture of a cabinet that my father built for me. That I painted for my deity, deity cabinet, deity box, excuse me. And somebody put a comment on there. I was really intrigued by it, so I kind of looked into it. Val Smith asked, how did you find out who your deity was? What, do you have any tips on what to put on an altar or in a deity cabinet? And that she was very overwhelmed by all of it. It is something that is important to a lot of witches, anybody who uses goddess or god as part of their practice, whether they be Wiccan, Just Witch, neo-pagan, whatever name you take for yourself as what you are. So my deity is the Morrigan. And I did not actively originally seek her out to work with her. I remember thinking in my path, I wanted to work with deity energy because it can sometimes help increase your spell effectiveness. It helps you direct what you're wanting to do and focus on what you're wanting to do in your craft. And so I basically I actually did a like a really simple reveal spell. I cast a circle, lit a white candle, and I held a piece of clear quartz because those can be pretty much used for anything. I did not know who I was going to get a response from. I basically asked deities to make themselves known to me. And that's pretty much how it starts, is you can ask to have deity energy make itself known to you so that you know who you are working with, and then it can kind of build from there. And a lot of times it doesn't come as a, hey, it's me, insert goddess or god name here. I heard you and I'm gonna work with you. It doesn't work like that. It's more very subtle. So I did that and waited and waited and waited some more. I actually didn't think that it was working until I really started to pay attention to what was around me. I noticed that I was seeing a lot of red and black in my dreams. I noticed I kept seeing a woman in the water. So I was sitting there, I was very confused. I was like, what is this? Is this a sprite? Is this a nymph? Where is this energy from? I don't know. So I remember thinking I need more clarity. So I put amethyst near my bed and just kept going. Other images that I was getting in my dreams were, I would see crows, and I would see them on kind of like an area of open land, and there were bodies everywhere. And these dreams really scared me. I am not going to lie and say these were the happiest dreams of my life. When deity is contacting you, reaching out to you, they use imagery. Sometimes it's very easy to figure out who they are. Other times it's not. And this wasn't one I was familiar with. I was like, well, I'm not a soldier. I've never seen a battlefield. So why am I seeing a field of dead bodies and crows everywhere. And pretty much the only colors I saw were in, you know, shades of gray and then vivid splashes of red. And then, you know, the woman in the water, in a river, as a matter of fact. So I was really confused. I didn't know. And then probably the clearest symbol or sign that I got, I wasn't even dreaming. I was wide awake, and I was sitting outside, and I happened to see an entire murder of crows fly overhead of me. And one kind of stopped and kind of circled back around and landed on a branch of a tree that wasn't very far from me and just kind of stared at me. And I was like, okay, yeah, I see you. You're freaking me out, but I see you. And then I spoke to it. It's like, well, hi, you're a nice looking bird. What are you doing here? Why are you not flying with your friends? You know, I had if anybody had seen me, they would have been like, she is crazy. She's talking to a bird. Oh my God. But that's basically how it happened. So I was like, okay. So I see battlefields. I see crows. I see blackbirds, basically, and the color red. So I did the first thing that you need to do when you start working with a deity: research. So I started looking up deity energy, or, you know, I basically looked up deity, crows, battlefield, red. Those were the keywords that I typed into a search engine. And the first 7 links that popped up were for the Morrigan. And I was like, okay, this makes plenty of sense. So when you start to work with deity, once you figure out who you want to work with, it's like a relationship. You build from it. You need to learn about this deity because you don't want to offend them. You want to make sure your offerings are, you know, something that would be appealing to them. So I researched. I learned where the Morrigan originated, where she came from, what the names meant. I learned that she was considered a triple aspect goddess with 3 other names. And I learned about the culture that venerated the Morrigan in ancient times. And I learned some of her stories and some of the mythology that went with her. And it became very clear to me that this was the deity that was contacting me and connecting with me and being like, okay, you asked, so here I am. She was the Phantom Queen, the Great Queen, one of the dark goddesses. And she wasn't just a goddess of battle and death. She is a goddess of magic and fertility and sovereignty and visions and shape-shifting. She was a goddess that incorporated several aspects, like a lot of triple goddesses tend to do, because she's not just the crone, if you want to kind of basic like that. She's also the maiden and the mother, by, you know, being the fertile land. And she's a goddess of protection and visions. And so it started to make sense. And one of the things I learned in the research was the story of the Irish hero Cuchulainn. She came to him in several forms, and he, you know, really paid her no mind. And the last time he saw her, or one of the last times he saw her, was as a woman in a river washing bloody armor. And so I was like, okay, so the woman in the river now makes sense. So now that you have done your research and found out what deity you're working with and found that connection, you've started your relationship with them. So the next thing you do, communicate with them. That's really simple. Any relationship is going to build itself with communication. So how do you communicate with deity? Like you would communicate with a best friend. You pray, or You can see that they're sending you signs or images or symbols through your dreams, through nature. Ever since that connection was made for me, I have seen crows an awful lot where I'm from. I connect really deeply with ravens. There's a few. The South isn't very well known for having ravens, and really the only time that they happen to come through is in the fall, when it's not so hot but it's not cold. And I'm not even sure if ravens are migratory animals at all, but in the fall specifically, there's a few ravens that come through, and they always seem to stop in the same tree where that crow landed when I was first introduced to the Morrigan. It's like, okay, so that's where they land. But that's how they communicate with you. So how do you communicate with them? You talk to them, you pray to them. And pay attention, because when they communicate with you, it's oftentimes through images in your dreams. Sometimes it'll just be images. Sometimes you'll have maybe a faceless figure speaking and communicating with you. And that is very possible to be them, especially if you have invited them into your dream to have communication, to have like just a moment with them. But yeah, that's how they communicate. You can speak to them like you would anybody else. And the way that they communicate back oftentimes is through your dreams and through recurring signs that you see all around you in nature a lot. So now you're communicating with your deity. You know who they are, you're communicating, which is great. So how do you help continue to build this relationship with your deity? You make offerings. Offerings are a way of showing your gratitude for them helping you and working with you. You show your appreciation for them. And deities like to be appreciated. Some of them like to be worshipped, and depending on your path, you may worship your deity or just work with that deity's energy. You do not have to be a worshiper. You just have to show your gratitude and that you appreciate that they work with you. And you do that by leaving offerings on your altar. But some of the things that you can put on your altar, your offering table, or even a deity cabinet like I have, you can put food and candles. You can do artwork, poems, incense. You can leave crystals. You can maybe you found something that corresponds with your deity. Maybe you found a black feather. Like for my deity, being the Morrigan, a black feather would be something that she might like. So I would put that on my altar. And that way you show that you appreciate them. And in return, they give you gifts as well. They give you love and protection and healing and guidance. You'll also notice that the more you make an offering, the more that they make their affection for you known. So if you just do an offering once a week, which is good. I mean, some people make offerings every day. I make offerings every day. But the more you show appreciation for them, the more that they will help you, because you become close to them. On my deity cabinet, I have a statue of the Morrigan, and in her little box, I have it was a jar that held one of the really tall, like meditation candles that I cleaned out, and now I put coins or dollar bills in there. I have a miniature besom that was specifically crafted with the Morrigan in mind. It has a jar of garnet chips in it, and it has like a little charm of a raven skull. I have a spot for incense to burn. I have a special place to put a chime candle. I have a shot glass so that I can give whiskey or wine as an offering. And that's just what I do for my deity and the way that my relationship with my deity works. Val Smith, thank you so much for asking those questions, because I never honestly gave it a lot of thought about how I came to have a relationship with the Morrigan. Now, everybody's relationship with deities is going to be different. If I meet somebody else who worked with the Morrigan a lot, the way they show appreciation and their relationship with the Morrigan is going to be vastly different from mine. Everybody works with them differently, and it's unique, or it's as unique a relationship with your deity as it is with a sibling or your parents or your significant other. All these relationships are valid, they are important, and they are different. So how you work with a deity will always be a little different, and it's unique. It was great to be able to really sit and think about this. I spent hours after I got this comment thinking about my relationship with deity. How did it start? But the more time, the more effort that you put into relationship with deity, the more you will get back. So I do appreciate the comments, and I do appreciate the question. It was very, very fascinating, and y'all stay blessed.